Not everyone who asks for your help deserves it, and some people will drain you dry without a second thought. Here are types of people you should never waste your time, energy, or kindness on. Have you ever helped someone only to feel used or unappreciated afterward? It's a harsh reality. Sometimes your kindness ends up being taken for granted or even exploited. Helping others is noble, but not everyone deserves it. Some people won't value your efforts, while others will use you as a crutch or manipulate your generosity. In this video, we're going to explore the types of people you should stop helping, not because kindness is wrong, but because it's vital to protect your time, energy, and peace of mind. Let's dive in. 1. The perpetual victim. We've all encountered someone who seems to live in a constant state of crisis. Their life is a revolving door of drama, bad bosses, toxic relationships, financial woes, and endless bad luck. At first, you feel compelled to step in. You think, they just need a little help to get back on track. But no matter how much you do, it's never enough. I remember a friend who always had a problem. Let's call her Sarah. At first, she'd call me in tears, venting about her horrible boss. I'd listen for hours, offering advice and even sending her job listings to help her find something better. A few weeks later, she was upset about her boyfriend, then her landlord, then her unfair friends who didn't understand her. Each time, I dropped everything to be there for her, but over time, I noticed a pattern. Sarah wasn't taking any steps to improve her situation. She didn't apply for new jobs, kept going back to the same toxic relationships, and brushed off every suggestion I gave her. Instead, she always had a reason why things couldn't change. "It's just the way my life is," she'd say. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I'm not giving the right advice. Maybe I'm not being supportive enough. But eventually, it hit me. Sarah didn't want help. She wanted attention. She wanted someone to validate her struggles without expecting her to take responsibility. Here's the harsh reality. Some people are addicted to the identity of being a victim. It's comfortable because it absolves them of accountability. If everything is someone else's fault, they don't have to do the hard work of changing their circumstances. And let me tell you, helping a perpetual victim is exhausting. It's not just your time that gets drained, it's your emotional and mental energy. I found myself constantly worried about Sarah, replaying our conversations in my head, wondering what more I could do to help. Meanwhile, she was living her life the same way, completely oblivious to the toll it was taking on me. Eventually, I had to set boundaries. It wasn't easy. Sarah didn't take it well. She accused me of not caring, of abandoning her when she needed me most. But the truth was, she didn't need me. She needed to face her own reality. And by constantly stepping in, I was only enabling her to stay stuck. A hard but important lesson. Helping someone who refuses to take responsibility isn't kindness. It's enabling. True compassion isn't about solving someone else's problems for them. It's about giving them the tools and space to solve them on their own. Ask yourself this. Is your help making a real difference, or is it just feeding someone's cycle of helplessness? Are you truly supporting their growth, or are you becoming their crutch? Stepping back doesn't make you a bad person. In fact, it can be the most loving thing you do, not just for them, but for yourself. Because here's the truth, you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. And if you try, you risk losing yourself in the process. Save your energy for those who are willing to take the steps, no matter how small, toward bettering their lives. Those are the people who will value your help and turn it into something meaningful. The perpetual victim. They need to face their struggles on their own, to realize that no one else can save them but themselves. 2. The serial borrower. We all know someone like this, the person who always seems to need a little help. It starts innocently enough. They borrow a small amount of money, ask for a ride, or need you to step in and bail them out of a tight spot. You help because you care. And hey, it's no big deal, right? But then it happens again and again. Suddenly you realize you're their personal bank, chauffeur, therapist, or problem solver. I had a co-worker once. We'll call him Jake. Jake had a knack for borrowing small things, a couple of dollars for lunch, a ride home, or even help covering a bill when he forgot his wallet. At first, I didn't mind. After all, everyone goes through tough times, and I believed in being there for others. But then I noticed a pattern. Jake never paid me back unless I asked, and even then, he'd act like it was an inconvenience. What's worse, Jake's borrowing wasn't limited to me. I started hearing similar stories from other co-workers. He'd guilt-trip them into covering for him, borrowing without returning, and making everyone feel like his financial troubles were their responsibility. The big realization: serial borrowers don't see your kindness as generosity. They see it as a resource they're entitled to, and because they rely on guilt or charm to get what they want, they often take advantage of empathetic people who hesitate to say no. Here's where it gets tricky. People like Jake often seem genuine in their need. They tell you stories about how they're struggling, and you feel bad saying no. But here's the thing: most serial borrowers are stuck in a mindset of dependence. Instead of finding ways to manage their own problems, they take the easy route, leaning on others. The personal toll of helping a serial borrower. Helping them might feel like the right thing to do at first, but it comes at a cost. Over time, their constant demands can drain your financial resources, time, and emotional energy. I remember once agreeing to help Jake cover his phone bill, thinking it was a one-time emergency. A month later, he was back with another excuse. By the third time, I realized I wasn't helping him. I was enabling his inability to manage his responsibilities. The deeper message here: kindness has its limits. There's a difference between helping someone in genuine need and becoming someone's crutch. It's not your job to be their solution, especially if they're not taking steps to improve their situation. The tough part is learning to say no. For me, it felt harsh at first. I worried Jake would think I didn't care, or that I was being selfish. But over time, I realized this: saying no doesn't make you unkind. It protects your boundaries. It also sends a clear message that their behavior isn't sustainable. Here's what to watch out for: they never give back. Whether it's money, time, or effort, they take without reciprocating. They have a new excuse every time. There's always a reason why they just can't pay you back yet. They don't change their habits. Instead of cutting unnecessary expenses or finding solutions, they rely on others to fill the gaps. A final thought: helping someone in need is a wonderful thing, but it's not your responsibility to fix someone else's poor habits. Serial borrowers need to learn accountability, and the only way they will is when people stop enabling them. Remember, your resources, whether financial, emotional, or otherwise, are limited. Save your energy for people who genuinely appreciate it and are willing to grow from it. Sometimes, the best way to help someone isn't by saying yes, it's by saying no. 3. The manipulator. Manipulators are some of the most dangerous people to help because they don't just take, they control, guilt, and twist your kindness to serve their agenda. Unlike someone who's genuinely in need, a manipulator knows exactly how to exploit your emotions, whether it's through guilt trips, flattery, or creating a sense of obligation. They don't want your help, they want your submission. I'll never forget my experience with someone like this. Let's call him Mark. Mark was charming, friendly, and always seemed to know how to get what he wanted. At first, it felt great to help him out. He'd always compliment me, saying things like, "You're such a lifesaver. I don't know what I'd do without you." But over time, I noticed something strange. Every time I tried to set boundaries or say no, he'd turn it around on me. For example, once he asked me to help him finish a work project at the last minute. I had my own deadlines, so I hesitated. Immediately, he said, "Wow, I didn't think you were the kind of person who'd leave a friend hanging. I'd totally do this for you." And just like that, I felt guilty and agreed to help, even though it left me stressed and scrambling to finish my own work. How manipulators operate. Guilt tripping. They make you feel selfish or heartless for saying no. Flattery. They'll butter you up to lower your guard, making you feel special or needed. Playing the victim. They frame their requests as desperate situations, making it seem like you're their only hope. Subtle threats. They imply consequences if you don't help, like damaging your reputation, friendship, or opportunities. The scary part is how subtle manipulators can be. You might not even realize you're being used until it's too late. In my case, I didn't recognize Mark's behavior as manipulation until I started feeling drained and resentful. I'd given so much of my time and energy to him, yet he never offered anything in return, not even gratitude that felt genuine. The real cost of helping a manipulator. Helping someone like this doesn't just waste your time, it eats away at your self-esteem. You start questioning yourself, wondering if you're really the selfish one for wanting boundaries. Manipulators thrive on this doubt because it keeps you in their control. Eventually, I had to confront Mark. I told him I couldn't help him anymore, and his true colors came out immediately. He was angry, accusing me of being disloyal and ungrateful. That's when I realized manipulators don't value your kindness. They value what they can get from you. The deep lesson. Here, it's not unkind to protect yourself from manipulators. In fact, setting boundaries is a form of self-respect. You are not obligated to help someone who uses guilt, pressure, or deceit to control you. Real relationships are built on mutual respect, not manipulation. How to spot a manipulator. They use emotional language to pressure you. If you don't help me, I don't know what I'll do. They constantly owe you one but never deliver. Promises of reciprocation that never materialize. They isolate you emotionally, making you feel like you're the only person who can solve their problem. They escalate when you say no. Their charm turns to anger or coldness when they don't get their way. A word of advice. If you recognize someone as a manipulator, don't try to outsmart them or change their behavior. It won't work. The best thing you can do is firmly say no and distance yourself. Manipulators will often move on to someone else when they realize you're no longer an easy target. Your kindness is a gift, and it should go to people who genuinely appreciate it, not those who use it as a tool for their own gain. Helping a manipulator isn't kindness. It's allowing yourself to be controlled. Be firm, be strong, and most importantly, protect your peace. 4. The lazy dreamer. We all love a good dreamer, someone who dares to imagine a better future and works toward it. But there's another type of dreamer, one who talks endlessly about their big plans, but never lifts a finger to make them happen. These are the lazy dreamers. They are full of ideas, ambitions, and lofty goals, but when it comes to taking action, they're always waiting for the right time or relying on others to do the heavy lifting. I remember someone like this, a guy named Chris. Chris always had a new million-dollar idea. One week it was an app that would revolutionize food delivery. The next, it was a book he was going to write that would change lives. He'd spend hours talking about his vision, detailing every grand idea down to the tiniest feature or plot twist. At first, I was inspired by his enthusiasm. I even offered to help with some of the groundwork, thinking his passion would be contagious. But soon, I realized something important. Chris wasn't interested in doing the work. Whenever I'd ask about progress, he'd come up with excuses. "I'm still waiting for the perfect time to start," he'd say, or "I'm just figuring out the details." Meanwhile, weeks, months, and eventually years passed, and his dreams remained exactly that, dreams. Why helping lazy dreamers is a trap. At first, it feels exciting to support their ambitions. They talk so convincingly that you believe in their vision. But here's the thing. Lazy dreamers are more in love with the idea of success than the process of achieving it. They enjoy the attention and admiration that comes from sharing their grand plans, but they're unwilling to put in the sweat and sacrifice it takes to make them real. When you help them, you end up carrying all the weight. They'll let you research, plan, and sometimes even invest your own resources while they sit back and talk about how amazing it's all going to be. And when it doesn't work out, they blame circumstances, other people, or the timing, but never themselves. The cost of helping a lazy dreamer. Helping a lazy dreamer doesn't just waste your time, it can derail your own goals. I spent weeks helping Chris design mock-ups for his app, connecting him with people in my network, and brainstorming strategies. In the end, none of it went anywhere because Chris wasn't willing to take the next step. I could have used that energy to pursue my own projects, but instead, I was left feeling frustrated and drained. The deep lesson: dreams are worthless without action, and while it's noble to want to support someone's vision, you can't carry their dreams for them. Success requires effort, and if someone isn't willing to put in the work, no amount of your help will make a difference. How to spot a lazy dreamer? They talk more than they act. Their ideas are endless, but there's no follow-through. They avoid accountability. They blame external factors, timing, resources, other people, when nothing gets done. They expect others to do the hard work. Whether it's funding, connections, or planning, they rely on others to execute their vision. They repeat the cycle. Despite a long history of unfinished projects, they always have a new big idea to pitch. A word of caution. Helping a lazy dreamer can feel like kindness at first, but it's a form of enabling. The more you do for them, the less they're forced to take responsibility for their own ambitions. Sometimes, the best way to help is to step back and let them figure it out on their own. A hard truth. Not everyone deserves your time and energy, especially if they're not willing to match it. If someone isn't willing to invest in their own dreams, why should you? Use your energy to support people who are actively working toward their goals, not just dreaming about them. Final thought. Dreams are powerful, but they require action to come alive. Helping a lazy dreamer isn't kindness. It's carrying someone who refuses to walk. Save your strength for people who are ready to climb with you, not those who expect to be carried to the top. 5. The gossip monger. Gossip mongers thrive on chaos. They live for the latest drama, spreading half-truths, exaggerations, and outright lies to keep the spotlight on someone else's problems. They're not interested in building others up or solving conflicts. Instead, they seek to tear people down, often under the guise of just sharing. These people might seem harmless at first, but helping them can be a mistake that costs you your peace, reputation, and even relationships. I had a colleague like this once. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah always seemed to know everything about everyone. At first, it felt intriguing. She'd pull me aside and whisper, "Did you hear what happened to John?" "I'm just telling you because I thought you should know." It felt like I was being trusted with inside information, but over time, I noticed a pattern. Every conversation with Sarah revolved around someone else's misfortune, mistakes, or personal life. I fell into the trap of listening, sometimes even participating, thinking it was harmless venting. But then it hit me. If she could talk about others so easily behind their backs, what was she saying about me when I wasn't around? That realization made me uneasy, But the real turning point came when Sarah started using gossip to manipulate situations. How gossip mongers operate. 1. They use gossip as currency. Gossip mongers trade information like it's a commodity, offering juicy details in exchange for your time, trust, or allegiance. 2. They stir conflict. They thrive on creating tension. By sharing selective or distorted information, they pit people against each other, often just to watch the fallout. 3. They avoid accountability. When confronted, they backpedal with excuses like, "I was just joking," or "I only said it because I care." They seek validation. Gossip mongers often use stories about others to make themselves feel superior or to draw attention to their own perceived virtues. Why helping a gossip monger is dangerous. Helping a gossip monger, whether by listening, engaging, or even sympathizing, can harm you more than you realize. First, you become complicit in their behavior, even if unintentionally. People begin associating you with the drama, assuming you're part of the problem. Second, gossip mongers rarely value loyalty. The same person you helped by lending an ear or defending them can turn around and spread rumors about you. In my case, Sarah eventually twisted one of our conversations into something it wasn't. She told someone else that I had said things I never did, painting me as the bad guy. It created unnecessary tension and made me realize the high cost of associating with someone like her. The deeper message. Gossip might seem harmless, even entertaining, but it's a toxic cycle that hurts everyone involved. Helping a gossip monger doesn't just damage others, it damages your own integrity. Trust, once lost, is incredibly hard to rebuild, and being linked to gossip can ruin your reputation, even if your intentions were innocent. How to spot a gossip monger? They always have news to share. Their conversations are filled with stories about others, often framed as shocking, scandalous, or secret. They never keep confidences. If they're sharing someone else's private matters with you, they'll do the same with yours. They thrive on drama. They seem to enjoy stirring the pot and are rarely interested in solutions or reconciliation. They downplay their role. When called out, they minimize their behavior, acting as if they were merely passing along harmless information. How to protect yourself? Refuse to engage. Politely but firmly steer the conversation away from gossip. Say something like, "I'd rather not talk about that," or "I'm not comfortable discussing someone else's business." Don't confide in them. Assume that anything you say could be shared with others. Call them out gently. If appropriate, let them know the impact of their behavior without attacking them. For example, "I think it's better to focus on resolving issues directly with the person involved." Distance yourself. If their behavior doesn't change, it might be best to limit your interactions with them. A hard truth. Helping a gossip monger by listening or participating enables their toxic cycle. It might feel like you're being a supportive friend or colleague, but in reality, you're only adding fuel to the fire. Worse, their actions can spill over into your life, dragging you into conflicts and tarnishing your relationships. The final lesson: your energy and attention are precious. Spend them on people who uplift others, not those who tear them down. Gossip mongers may seem entertaining or harmless, but their actions are corrosive. By refusing to engage, you not only protect yourself, but also take a stand for integrity and kindness. Let them talk while you focus on building something real, because words without purpose are just noise. 6. The competitive friend. Friendship is supposed to be about support, mutual respect, and shared growth, but every now and then you encounter someone who turns everything into a competition. The competitive friend isn't interested in celebrating your successes. They're too busy trying to one-up you. No matter what you do, they have to do it better, bigger, or faster, and helping someone like this can quickly become exhausting and even damaging. I had a friend like this once. Let's call him Adam. At first, Adam seemed inspiring, always driven, always chasing his goals. I admired his determination and thought it would push me to do better in my own life. But over time, I noticed something unsettling. Every time I shared an achievement, whether big or small, Adam would immediately shift the conversation to his own accomplishments. If I landed a new job, he'd talk about how much better his position was. If I started working out and shared a fitness goal, he'd respond with how much he could already lift or how fast he could run. At first, I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe he was just excited about his own progress. But then came the subtle put-downs. If I shared something I was proud of, he'd find a way to minimize it. "That's good, but you know what you should have done instead?" Or, "Yeah, but I heard that doesn't really work." Why helping a competitive friend feels draining. Competitive friends rarely reciprocate the energy you put into the relationship. Instead of celebrating your wins, they view them as threats. When you try to support them, your encouragement often gets twisted into an opportunity for them to outshine you. Helping them chase their goals might feel like you're being a good friend, but in reality, you're just feeding their ego and enabling their need to compete. The problem with competitive friends: 1. They can't celebrate your wins. Every achievement you share becomes a trigger for their insecurities, leading them to downplay your success or shift focus to themselves. 2. They turn friendship into a contest. Even casual conversations can feel like a scoreboard, with them constantly trying to win the interaction. 3. They drain your energy. Supporting someone who is more focused on beating you than growing with you leaves you feeling undervalued and emotionally spent. 4. They undermine your confidence. Over time, their constant comparisons and subtle jabs can make you second-guess your own accomplishments. The deep lesson: a true friend sees your success as a shared joy, not a threat. Friendship is about lifting each other up, not competing to stay on top. Helping a competitive friend often means putting yourself in a position to be overshadowed or criticized, and that's not a healthy dynamic. How to handle a competitive friend: acknowledge their behavior, pay attention to how they react to your successes or how often they turn the conversation back to themselves. Set boundaries. You don't have to share every detail of your life with someone who can't handle it gracefully. Be selective about what you discuss. Avoid the game. Don't fall into the trap of trying to compete with them. Focus on your own journey instead of trying to keep up. Limit your support. Offer encouragement where appropriate, but don't overextend yourself for someone who can't reciprocate. Evaluate the friendship. If their competitive nature consistently brings negativity into your life, it may be time to distance yourself. A personal realization. After months of trying to help Adam with his goals and listening to him downplay mine, I realized the friendship wasn't balanced. Every interaction left me feeling drained and unappreciated. I decided to pull back, not out of malice, but out of self-respect. I stopped sharing my achievements with him and focused on surrounding myself with people who genuinely celebrated my wins and inspired me without comparison. A hard truth about competitive friends: sometimes their competitiveness isn't about you at all. It's about their own insecurities. They measure their worth by comparison, and helping them often reinforces this unhealthy mindset. You can't fix their self-esteem, and trying to do so will only pull you into their game. Final thought: a good friend is a teammate, not a rival. They cheer for you in your victories and stand by you in your struggles. If someone can't celebrate your growth without making it about themselves, they don't deserve a front-row seat in your life. Life is challenging enough without turning friendships into contests. Invest your time and energy in people who bring out the best in you, not those who see you as competition. 7. The envious saboteur. The envious saboteur is a uniquely harmful type of person. They're not content with their own lives and can't stand to see others succeed. Instead of celebrating your wins or even simply minding their own business, they'll actively try to tear you down. Their envy consumes them, turning admiration into bitterness and closeness into sabotage. Helping someone like this isn't just unproductive, it can actively harm you. A personal story. I had a friend, let's call her Lisa, who seemed incredibly supportive at first. Whenever I shared my dreams or successes, she'd smile and offer kind words. But as time went on, I started noticing little cracks in her facade. Whenever I told her about something I was working toward, she'd subtly discourage me. "Are you sure you're ready for that? It sounds risky." Or, "I heard that's really competitive. You might want to rethink."